One, first and foremost, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostle elders, a great millstone who rule well, and salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. Once again, it's the brother Shati from the Chicago camp coming back to you with what I hope is another quick and edifying sit down. And this is the one by Dave Hodges, and he's talking about the whole Agenda 21, which is now called Agenda 2030, and it's entitled How Your Children Will Live in the Future. All right, and so we'll let this play and I'll get some scripture in the end.
One of my colleagues sent me an interesting piece that was run by CNN, and I guess it was repeated over on MSNBC in a different format, but it has to do with how they want people to live. It's something that I've written about before. It's something that Cassandra Anderson, who used to be a frequent guest on my show, she talked about this all the time. It's an Agenda 2030 program, or we used to call Agenda 21, and we're going to talk about that here on the Common Sense Show. My name is Dave Hodges. I'm the host, and we're the show that's freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. We're brought to you by Noble Gold. With all the stuff that's going on economically, you need to diversify and you need to have gold backing everything you do. And I'm sorry, that's not happening in your bank, where you are at risk and you're at the bottom of the pecking order if it comes to getting your money back if your bank fails. And by the way, if you think your money is safe, the FDIC that insures your money has 1.2% of the cash on hand they need to cover all bank deposits. Noble Gold can get you out of the way of this catastrophe. I want you to give them a call at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. Tell them Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show sent you. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a really interesting story about how we want the younger generation to work, how we want them to live, how we want them to exist. This is all covered in a former mentor of Obama, his first mentor when he was a community service activist, Bob Kudlik. And he has a website called, America2050.org. It's very, very instructive, and it's really very interesting. I'd recommend going to it. There are some things on there, though, what looks like really good technology and a souped-up way to live in America in 2050. If you read between the lines and if you look at the fine print, it's really, really bad. They want 11 major metropolitan areas. They want what's called stack and pack cities. And they want you living in 500 square feet or less. I'm sorry, that means no children and no pets. And this is what CNN was covering on this particular piece. No children, no pets. And they want people to basically live in these pods. And we see them along Grand Avenue in downtown Phoenix, where these old, smaller railroad cars were converted into living spaces. And they're big by comparison. Some of them are 850 square feet from the publicized width and depth and length. And they look like garbage. And I'd never want to live in something like this. But this is the future they hold for our children. This is Agenda 2020. You don't need a car. You don't want children. We're overtaxing the environment. We have too many of us. You owe it to humanity to not have kids and to live in stack and pack cities. This was the premise behind the Chinese ghost cities, among other reasons too. But ladies and gentlemen, this is an international blueprint. This is Agenda 2030. This is not just the United States. This is not just CNN spouting off. This is what they have planned for your kids, your grandkids, and future generations of America. I just thought you had a right to know. That's it for the Common Sense Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Please share this on your social media. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you back here again next time.
With rising stress in the
And there you have it. Okay, Bad Uncle Esau wants to create a world where everybody is stacked on top of each other like rats, with no children, no pets, no nothing. It's just you slaving away at your job, having no life and dying miserably. Okay. And I read something about this a few years ago, and they called them mega cities. Okay. And the whole reason for the elite creating these mega cities across not only the United States but around the world is for when they call martial law, they can easily have access to all these people, because right now in the United States, we're all spread out. You know, you got with the majority of your populace living in the major cities, Chicago, New York, Detroit, LA, Sacramento, you got Dallas, Houston, so on and so forth. Usually the majority of your population are in the major cities, but then you have the suburbs. And one of the reasons why they're creating these mega cities, as I said once again, is that so when they call martial law, they don't have to go to all these different suburbs and counties and provinces within each state. They can just go to the major city and just come get you. But even something like this is very wicked because it's contrary to the scripture. And so we're going to get a few scriptures and we'll close it out. This is Isaiah 5:8. It says, "Woe to them that join house to house, that lay field to field, so there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth." Okay, and the Lord made this decree for a reason. Okay, the last thing you want to do, let's say if they do succeed and people are stuck living in these places that are 500 square feet, the last thing somebody wants to do is come home after a hard day of work trying to relax, and then the next thing you know, on the left to you, you got a couple arguing or somebody playing their music loud. Then to the right of you, you got some dude clapping his wife. And then on top of you, you got somebody that, let's say they may have a child and they're crying. And that's terrible, especially if you work the night shift and you come home in the morning and you trying to go to sleep and you got to hear a baby crying, a dude clapping his woman. Okay, that's why a whole bunch of hostility and grief and conflict comes about. When people don't have room to be able to express themselves, relax, and do the things that they need to do. Okay, and we'll get a quick story on that. If I can find it. It deals with Abraham and Lot. Let me see. Yep, this is Genesis 13. Let me see where this starts. Actually, we could start at 1. This is Genesis 13:1. And it says, "And Abram went up out of Egypt, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, and to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahweh. And Lot also which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them. Okay, meaning that both Abraham and Lot, they had so many men, they had so much cattle, so much of everything, that the land that they were on wasn't big enough to contain them. And here's what happened: that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And see, and verse 7, and there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. All right. So basically, Abraham and Lot had so many riches that they were stacked on top of each other. All their servants didn't have a place to go where they could relax, be alone, have a place to unwind, be with a woman. Okay, all the things that they had to do in their personal life, it was impeding on somebody else, because you might have a cow that'll drift off on their land or whatever else will happen, and just things lead to one another. And as the scripture said, okay, they started beefing and fighting to the point where when you read further down, Abraham and Lot made a deal. It's like, hey man, we if this keeps going on, we're gonna have some serious trouble on our hands. So, hey, with every land you choose. I'll go one way, you go the other, and that's what eventually happened. Okay, but this is a great story that lets you know that when you read this in Isaiah, let's read this again, Isaiah the 5th chapter. Okay. Isaiah the 5th chapter and the 8th verse again. It says, woe to them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. And see, this is the whole reason why the Lord ordained and made it a law that when man has land and a place to stay, he's supposed to have some space. People aren't supposed to be crowded on top of each other, because it creates conflict and strife. And as you can obviously see, this is the ultimate goal of the elite for Agenda 2030, to have people just stacked on top of each other. As like I said before, living a lonely, miserable life, no pets, maybe not even a child, owning no house, no land, no nothing. Okay, everything you do in your life, you're just buying or renting. All right, a generalized slave. So that's all I want to say on that. I don't want to make this too long, but nonetheless, I hope you were edified. Once again, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle elders, a great millstone who rule well. And salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. With that, we're going to say shalom.